YouTube, how's it going? Welcome back. Another 7-round mock draft for you guys today. This one is covering the Denver Broncos, who have the 5th pick in the upcoming draft. If you didn't already know, we're doing a fan-voted mock draft. There's a link in the description. Always will be in the description for all these videos, so click that. Go vote for the Broncos. I have been revealing the team's pick from the fans in these videos. I'm going to stop doing that because it's kind of delaying these videos. I know a lot of you guys want your team's video to come out, so we're going to keep going through these, but the fan-voted mock will continue to happen. If you click the link, make your selection. It'll then bring you to a page to show the past selection, so that's where you can see who was picked, and then you submit it from there, and it's going to keep on updating, keep on changing, and then once it's through, I'll make a video with the full fan-voted mock, viewer-voted mock, and I'll kind of review it, give my thoughts, so you can always go see the past picks on that page after you vote. So please continue to do that. It's pretty fun. And we're going to try to rip through these, try to get through all the teams in draft order. So today's video is the Broncos. Starting with the first round pick, I got him taking Josh Rosen, quarterback, UCLA. Now, it could be a long shot that he drops there, but it's also possible. You could actually see them trade up to get him. It sounds like Darnold will go 1, even though I don't agree with it. Who knows what the Giants are going to do? They could go Rosen, but they could go Barkley. I just think it's possible that Rosen's there at 5 for the Broncos, and if he is, I'm taking him. I'm also thinking about Baker Mayfield, but I think they're more likely to go Josh Rosen. If it's not a quarterback, possibly Quentin Nelson, the guard from Notre Dame, but I'm thinking Josh Rosen. The Broncos are a quarterback away from getting back into the playoffs. The defense can still play at a high level. They may need to tune that up a little bit, get it to where it needs to be, but it's very close. So I got them going. Rosen gets their day 1 starter at quarterback. On to their next pick, which is in the 2nd round. I got them taking Will Hernandez, offensive lineman from UTEP. Could possibly be a first rounder, but I feel more comfortable with him in round 2. Kind of getting hyped up right now. Again, I think he's a 2nd rounder. Possibly could be a first rounder, but this is also an option. Broncos last few years, offensive line's been on the weaker side, but got a little better last year, I think. So continue to grow it here in the draft while filling other needs as well. They could look to. I'm a fan of building a line in free agency, and I like drafting offensive linemen maybe later in the draft because it seems like over the past pretty much all-time draft, every draft, you can find some pretty good steals in offensive linemen in the later rounds. So there's really not a huge difference. So that's the way I look at it. But if a guy like Will Hernandez, who is getting some first-round talk, is there in the 2nd round and he could fit the Broncos O-line, then might as well grab him. So we're on to the next pick. It is a 3rd-round pick. I got them taking Leighton Vander Esch, the linebacker from Boise State. Another guy that's been getting first-round talk. I don't think he goes in the 1st round. I think he's more of a 2nd, 3rd round. That's where I like him. They could use another middle linebacker, inside linebacker. That's where he comes in. I think he's just a fit for the Broncos. Happened to play for the Broncos in college too, so that has nothing to do with it, but just thought that was interesting right now. But yeah, I think he fits the defense. They could use another middle linebacker. He can come in there and start early, make an impact early. So I like that pick in the 3rd round. But yeah, again, there is some talk of him. I don't think he goes first. There's some talk about him in the 1st. That's a stretch, I think. I think it's 2nd or 3rd. Maybe even 4th. Before I thought he was more like 3rd or 4th, but getting a lot of hype now. So there's a lot of prospects like that where you really don't know where they're gonna go, but I think it's realistic he could drop to the 3rd. Every single year there's guys that we can't believe he's dropping, but then we remember this happened last year. How is this guy still available? How this guy dropped to day 3? How is this guy undrafted? It happens every year, so we just got to figure out who those guys are and why. On to our next pick. 4th round, Brian O'Neill, offensive lineman from Pittsburgh. I think this is more of a tackle. Will Hernandez was a guard. So get O'Neill in here. Another guy that I've seen split. I think people may say rounds 2 to 4, but I'm thinking 3 or 4. So best case scenario for them is to grab him in the 4th, get another offensive lineman, which they need. Always good to have depth. I think this guy actually potentially could start early in his career, so it's a win-win there for the Broncos. On to the next draft pick. It's another round 4, and it's Marcell Ateman, wide receiver, Oklahoma State. 6'5" receiver, long receiver. Got a lot of action at Oklahoma State, even when they had James Washington. Those were the duo, probably the top duo receivers in the country. The reason I'm going Ateman, that more downfield long guy, is because they do need an underneath guy. Emmanuel Sanders, that speed guy. But they may be moving on from him. There was talk they may be moving on from him or Demaryius Thomas. I don't think they're not going to get rid of Thomas unless it's a trade. I just truly believe that. So Sanders has been quiet, so maybe he's out of there. But they have Carlos Henderson from last year for that Emmanuel Sanders role. He really can do it all. Give him the ball on a screen pass, give him the ball underneath over the middle of the field. I was a big fan of Carlos Henderson last year, so very excited for him next year. This next year, I think he'll surprise a lot of people. People probably don't know who he is because he didn't do anything this last year because of an injury. But I think he'll come out of nowhere and just play, show out. So they got him for underneath. They got Thomas, really does it all. Maybe the intermediate routes, and then Aitman would be the downfield guy. So I think it just makes sense. Chrisley would, if they get a guy like Josh Rosen, Aitman could work out. I've seen some people talk about Aitman possibly second round. If I had to point out a weakness, he will kind of turn towards the ball when he's going downfield and jump and go to the highest point and catch it when it's totally unnecessary. It's not a huge negative, but he'll do that a lot when it's totally unnecessary. It's almost like he thinks he's in the end zone. That's kind of what you do on a goal line fade in the end zone. But he'll be like in the middle of the field doing that when he could just continue to run or not run full speed and just let the ball fall right in his arms. So he could do more of that. That's what he needs to work on. Obviously, speed could be a concern. Separation could be a concern. But when you're this big with good hands, sometimes that doesn't matter all that much. So I think rounds 3 through 5 probably is range. But I think in round 4 for the Broncos would be a hell of a pick. On to the next pick. It is a 5th round pick. I got him going with RJ Squirts McIntosh. I don't think anybody calls him Squirts, but I kind of just gave him that nickname now. I like how that sounds. D lineman from Miami. I think he fits the Broncos defense. So really, any of those Miami D linemen do. There's going to be 3 of them going in the draft. That will for sure get drafted, I should say. McIntosh come in there and play multiple positions on the D line. They can use that in their 3-4. So obviously, round 5, you're not looking to get a starter, but he can make an impact early on in his career. I like those 3 Miami guys, so they all should get drafted. Like I said, on to the next pick, which is also a round 5. Tony Brown, the corner from Alabama, very interesting prospect. Freak ability. This guy can run fast. I believe he's a runner at Alabama, track runner. Really, when you watch the tape, he lets guys behind him, and I seen it during the year watching games in the playoffs, college football playoff. He lets guys behind him, and that kind of made me forget about him a little bit. I'm like, this guy may not even get drafted, maybe late, but then after looking again, he has a lot of potential. He's very good on the underneath throws. He's good at reading throws. So if he goes to a team like the Broncos, very good at developing DBs. They come to mind. The Seahawks come to mind. The Vikings with Mike Zimmer come to mind. I like Dick LeBeau, but he's out of Tennessee. But Tennessee still got Pease over there. So a team that is good at developing corners. He has a ton of potential, and maybe he's a nickel corner. I think he deserves a tryout outside. I think he can do it. His biggest weakness is letting guys behind him. I don't think it's because of speed, obviously. It's because of his technique. I think he can fix that up a little bit, but he has it in him. He has a lot of potential. So in round 5 or maybe even round 4, this could be a good pick depending on where he goes. It depends on the team. If he goes to a team that really isn't good at developing corners have not been working out there, it's questionable. Reminds me of Adoree Jackson, like I mentioned, the Titans and Dick LeBeau last year. Adoree Jackson I did not like in round 1, but him going to a team like the Titans with Dick LeBeau last year, I kind of liked it, and he did pretty good too. I would have liked it if he went to the Broncos. I would have liked the Seahawks, Mike Zimmer, and the Vikings. That's the type of guy this is. I mean, he's not on Adoree Jackson's level. I don't think he should go anywhere that early, but a guy that struggled a little bit, but also shows signs that he can do it, and he can do it at a high level. So that's why it makes sense to me. He's got freak ability. It's when it comes down to he's got the ability. So hopefully we see him test well. I think he will. So maybe he'll be a riser. I think more and more people will start talking about him. Maybe overshadowed by other Alabama great players. On to round 6, I got Jaylen Samuels, tight end from NC State. Yeah, some might not consider him a tight end. He played a little running back, was more that halfback. He can line up pretty much anywhere. He's a mismatched guy. That's why it made sense here. I think he'll fit with the Broncos offense. I think he'll add something extra to it. They've been kind of slacking on the offensive side. Evan Engram he played tight end in college, so they're different. But he was a mismatched guy. because of his speed, his run after the catch ability. So I think that's what Jaylen Samuels could do. Also, they got Jake Butt from last year. What's the situation on him? You expect him to come back this year, but you really don't know. If he does, then you have yourself a tight end. If you draft this guy, then he can pair with Jake Butt. So that's why it made sense to me. He could possibly go earlier in this if teams have a plan for him. I know offenses are changing, maybe a little more college-style offenses coming in the league, so a team could really fall in love with him, love that mismatch that he creates. So he could go earlier in this, but I saw a fit here. It was a very interesting thing to me if I picture Jaylen Samuels on the Broncos. I'm hoping Jake Butt can come back. So that could be a good duo. And you don't have to really use him as a tight end. That's why if you draft him here and he's like not really looking good at tight end, you can put him somewhere else. Look at that. Bucky Hodges last year. He was a tight end. People worried about if he can block, but then can you throw him at receiver? It was really an unknown. So I think injury is what caused him not to make a team. He got drafted by the Vikings, but it was really injury. But there was a lot of question marks there. I think there's some question marks with Jaylen Samuels where he's going to play, but if he can't play here, I think he can play there. Is basically what it comes down to. He's a football player. And we're on to round 7. I got Trey Matthews, a safety from Auburn, a guy that can be round 6 or 7. I think they can really just use safety depth here, a guy that could potentially play early in his career. But again, it's round 7. You can't expect a starter here. In the 7th, could be a steal. That's why I'm looking at Trey Matthews, kind of a leader of that defense. Some believe that maybe he can be more of a money backer. So Broncos like to use guys in different ways there for the defensive back in the secondary, I should say. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do with this guy. That's why I liked it. That's why I put Tony Brown there, and that's why I put Trey Matthews there. The Broncos know how to use. They know what they're doing in the secondary. They know what they're doing. They develop guys, made guys better once they got him. Aqib Talib, he was always good, but once he came to the Broncos, it seemed like he was better. So Broncos know what they're doing in the secondary. I would like to see a guy like really Tony Brown. I like that. I like that pick a lot. I like him going to one of those teams I was talking about. So should be fun. There's the Broncos picks. Don't forget to vote for your Broncos pick. Broncos are on the clock. Click the link in the description. Always going to be in the description of the videos. Go vote. Then it'll tell you the past votes. Then you have to click submit. Stay tuned for our free agency videos too. Got those rolling out like crazy. Go check out the ones we already did. We got plenty of mock drafts, other teams' mock drafts, regular mock drafts, all kinds of stuff leading up to the draft. Combine's coming up. Can't wait for that. But that'll do for this one. Stay tuned for more. Please like, subscribe. Goodbye.